Greetings. Welcome. I'm GeezerGeek. You can call me Dave if you like. And yes, I am a geezer. I've been working with electronics since the era of vacuum tubes, and transistors were really just getting a strong foothold at that time in the world of electronics. That was the era of what we call boat anchor electronics. You know, the massive power transformers, heavy enough to act as a boat anchor. I've seen changes. And I've been working with computers since I was in high school, and programs were installed via punch tape or punch card. Back at that time, my mom was doing coursework in Fortran and COBOL, and my dad was teaching electronics at a trade school. A little bit later, I was part of the target demographic for the early computers being made by Kaypro and Osborne. And I taught myself some assembly language during those days. So I've been around long enough to see Microsoft's evolution from the earliest days of DOS. And I've made all the migrations, or if you prefer, upgrades, with each new evolution of their operating system. And I worked with the competition too, including DR-DOS, Digital Research's version, when they were offering something that was outside Microsoft's wheelhouse. I continue to work with things that are outside of Microsoft's wheelhouse, and that's part of why Linux is part of my interest here. I've observed the hardware evolve over time too. One of my earliest computers was a PC XT clone, which had a 20 meg hard drive. That was huge in those days. And my first computer mod was swapping out that controller card, which was MFM encoding, and putting in an RLL card. Gave me 50% more capacity with a very small investment. That was not a recommended mod in those days, as the hard drive hadn't been specifically built for RLL encoding. But it did work satisfactorily for me. Later I did a mod on some more sophisticated hardware, mod, add-on, whatever you want to call it. I added a math coprocessor to a 386 machine to facilitate CAD, computer-aided design and drawing. It wouldn't be long before people were experimenting to try to gain greater performance from their computers by overclocking and undervolting. Those processes also were not recommended, but that didn't prevent enthusiasts from giving them a try. And people still pursue them. Today, it seems there's far less headroom for those kinds of tweaks to make much difference. And I believe that's due to tighter manufacturing processes today, so that manufacturers really know from the get-go what their chips can do and don't need to downrate them so much in order to protect themselves. Now, all of that is background. So why am I here, and what can you find on my channel? After a slow and soft start, I started my channel back before the pandemic hit and interest in the platform exploded and drove the price of webcams through the roof. I started it for one simple reason. I wanted to create tech content that could be helpful to others. See, there had been several here on YouTube who had given me a leg up getting started with Linux 3 or 4 years ago, and I wanted to give back to the community. So why Linux? Well, I began my migration to Linux because I disliked the direction that Microsoft was taking in the latest evolution of their operating system, Windows 10. And I had been intrigued by Linux for a number of years, and had purchased many books on the subject, even reading significant portions of those books. Just had never really jumped into the pool. But now the time had come, and dive in I did, immediately doing what most people recommended against. I set up a Linux box with multi-boot. Specifically, I chose to be able to log into one of 3 Linux distros: Ubuntu, OpenSUSE, and Manjaro. After some time with that setup, I did like each of them, but I eventually settled in on Ubuntu, even though some people think that Canonical is practically as evil as Microsoft. Ubuntu is what I'm running on my regular production machines. Now, I also chose to learn the migration to Windows 10 because I supply tech support to several family members and to a 501c3. And family members just don't want to learn a new operating system, and they don't really care about the things about Microsoft that concern me. I won't bother you with a rant here. But I needed to be able to continue to support them. And I needed to continue to support the 501c3 who found it impractical to try to migrate to Windows 10, migrate to anything other than Windows 10. So I needed to learn what I needed to know about Windows 10. Therefore, on my channel, you're going to find videos about Windows 10 making the migration right now and other videos in the future. You'll also find Linux videos. I've done one on the Ubuntu installation process, and I will be doing more, for example, on alternate kernels and why you might want one. And I'll offer videos on specific applications, both for the Windows ecosystem and for Linux. I've already discussed a backup application for Windows, and I've discussed OBS, which is a multi-platform application. And you'll also find hardware videos. For example, I've done one on doing cable slaving, and I did another on making a mod on a laptop, and I've done one on, well, it's not done yet, but it will be soon, on CPU coolers. You'll also find videos that deal with both hardware and software. I have one on making a video recording appliance. I have a couple others on using floppy drives still today. And I have another on Ryzen 9 as a rendering platform. In short, my channel is about stuff that you can do with tech. We all get nervous striking out into unknown or unfamiliar territory. My channel is designed to help alleviate some of that. I'll offer tricks and tips that make some of the tasks easier. And sometimes just watching it done once is enough to give a measure of confidence, saying, hey, I could do that. Maybe even, I could do that better. You can do it. And that's the kind of stuff you'll find here. Once again, welcome. And I hope the content that you find is helpful, or at the very least, somewhat entertaining. Enjoy.